game of Witch, the Road to Lindisfarne. That Mikael, I'm gonna run for the Gauntlet. We have some very excellent players with us today, including Paul, who is playing with the Gauntlet for the first time. So
Hi.
I'd like to welcome you, especially Paul.
Thank you.
And Sabina.
Yep. Hi. It's me.
And lastly, Tyler from
Hello, all.
Our US contingent for this evening. I'm happy I get to play this game with you all finally. I've been looking forward to and really like been intrigued by this game for a long time. So I look forward to playing it with you all. This game is it's about someone being convicted of being a witch. I'm gonna read the text blob for you all to what the gist of the game is about. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. It's the year of our Lord 1350, and an unholy plague sweeps across our beloved Britain. Measures have been taken to contain and eliminate it, but still families must surrender their mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters to mass graves. They say that 1 in 3 have been marked for death, but marked by whom? Are the sick being punished for their sins by God? No, this foul curse is the work of the devil and his wicked agent, the witch. The people pray for an answer, and now within the great city of London, the source of the wild plague. God may have given it. A woman had been taken prisoner by the church after confessing the use of witchcraft to bring the blight upon us. 3 days have passed since then, and during this time the head of the church have been in consolation without rest. Today they emerged and gave their counsel. The woman must be taken in a cage cart to the holy island of Lindisfarne. Once there, an ancient ritual will be performed to cleanse this land of her and her black plague. It will take 2 weeks to reach the site, but as the sun breaks the horizon on the Sabbath, then the witch will face her absolution. This is the story of that journey. So we will all. This is a GM-less game. We will all play characters going on this journey. One of us will play the witch. Is there anyone who would like to play that character? Eloise?
I'm willing to play the witch.
Yeah.
Unless someone else likes it.
No, I'm cool with that. Do you want to go for it, Tyler?
Sure. Cool. Then Tyler will play Eloise. Let's see. I'm gonna. Yeah. So we also have some other characters. You'll find that in the Google Drive link I sent to you. If any of you don't have it, then just let me know. Since we are a fewer players than what can be played in this game, then we also there was Barrick, and I guess also that's it. I guess we're 4 players.
Yeah.
So we don't need Barrick, but except from that, we're gonna have all of the characters.
Actually, it's games of 4 players to Barry and Sohin, because we have a witch and 3 others.
Oh yeah, okay. It's only 5 players.
Yes, I think we lose Sir Hayden, I think, as well.
Sir Hayden as well, yeah.
Brother Armand.
Let's see. Does anyone have any wishes?
I quite like the idea of playing Ham, the guide.
Yeah, I would like to play Brother Armand, if that's all right.
You're a little bit roboty again.
Oh, yeah. already. Okay, I'll rejoin. Just give me a second.
Yeah, we had some robot issues last week as well.
I'm going to buy her a camera and send it off to Germany, I tell you.
Yeah. Let's see.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi.
That's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
that's
I'm
better.
much
Okay.
better.
Great. So, Mikhail, have you decided what you want to play?
I'm good with both. You said you wanted to do Briar Almond. Was that what you said?
Yes, that was what I
Yeah.
said.
I'll go with Sir Thorn then.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So I put like the first thing I guess is also that the Eloise there is also a link in the documents which is the truth slips. And before we start, you're supposed to decide if the witch is indeed guilty or not. You can just read the truth slips, and it gives you instructions on what to do.
Should I just write it down here and keep it to the side?
Yeah, do that.
Cool.
As we don't have a middle of the table, that seems like the feasible thing to do. I can do some like there's also some like frame scene, like you frame your own scene here in this game. There's some advice for it, so I can do that while Tyler writes down the big secret. There is this general advice about like say where you are, who's in the scene. You can before the scene we also assign like who plays the other characters in the scene. It doesn't have to be like the just the main characters. You can also assign the secondary character as needed. It also gives some advice about like it's good to describe the environment, not just how it looks, but like how it sounds and feels. Maybe mention the time of day and weather. Weather is a thing in Britain, I guess. It's to set like the vibe of the scene. And then except from that, just do as normal scene play goes. Say what your character does and thinks and so on. And there's like if you're stuck for ideas, there's stuff on the character sheet with questions and like scene ideas that you can look at. And it's also always allowed to ask for help if you're stuck. Cool. Have you written down the truth about the witch, Tyler?
I have.
Good. Then we are good to go for the first scenes. There we're gonna introduction scene for all the characters except for Eloise. We're gonna describe our characters along with like a very brief physical description in a situation where their actions reveal a little of their personality. We can, yeah, and we do this like before the first act, as I understand it. I can, let's see, I'm gonna look at my character also a little. Does anyone want to start? Do you have any volunteers?
I could start if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with an introduction scene for Brother Armand. And I narrate this. Just okay. Okay, so Brother Armand, he is in kind of the church thing. Yeah, cloister is not the right word. What am I looking for? Where there is an abbot?
Monastery.
Monastery. Right. Sorry. It's a room in a monastery, a small cell where a monk would live. He is dressed in the journey clothes for the journey, or the robe. He has his tonsure freshly shaved. He has a fresh face. He looks kind of nice, and he looks very insecure, a bit guilty even. He's praying. He's on his knees. He's praying, and you can see that he has tears in his eyes, and he's praying, God, please let this be the right thing to do. Please let this be the right thing to do. And then he kind of looks at the cross, and then he stiffens up and says, yes, I understand. And he stands up and walks with heavy steps out of the cell and into whatever is coming. I'm done.
Cool. Thanks. I can go next. I think you see Sir Thorn walking out of this like house. It's a pretty like big house for being in London. He has to like, but he still has to like crouch down a little to get out. He has long, almost like black hair. It's kind of like greasy, and you see him. He's a little like untidied. He has like this big cloak, and but his like clothes are a little dirty, and you see him like push away this kid that is in the way when he comes out of the door, and like, watch your step, kid. And then as he walks away, you see this like white X on the door as to signify that there's sick people inside.
Ooh.
Oh, cool. Are you ready for your scene, Paul?
Sure. So I'm playing Ham, who is a guide of dubious character. And we see Ham, he's seen from behind, and he's this short, sort of portly guy with really messy, greasy hair that's just like tumbling down. Like there's bits of twigs like stuck in his hair. He looks like a real mess. And he's wearing like really dirty clothes that's sort of streaked with dirt and food and stuff. And he's in this really bustling tavern, and it's dark, and there's lamp lights like lit, and there's plenty of people of dubious character sort of bustling around in this tavern. And he's sitting at a table near the exit, because he always sits like where he can see the way out, sitting on a table on his own in this crowded tavern. You know, all the other tables are completely rammed, but he's sitting there on like a table with like 6 seats around it, all empty. And he's got a big plate in front of him that's got this like a whole kind of chicken, and he's pulling off like the leg and gnawing it, and it's all dripping down his beard and stuff. But in between like every bite, he kind of looks over his shoulder. He looks over his shoulder and keeps like looking out of the window that he's sitting by. And then like as he's finished, you know, it took him about 2 minutes to eat this entire like chicken. And he sort of pushes the plate back, leans back in his chair, like rubs his big belly that's now bulging. And then this hand kind of plants onto his shoulder from behind, and he like jumps out of his feet, turns around, and there's this sort of cowed figure sort of standing behind him and says, "Ham, I have an offer that may be interesting to you." And the scene cuts there.
Cool. Thanks. Now we'll do our. We're starting to go into the first act, which is in London. The tone for the act is hopeful. Armand's player reads the following passage. It says, "Do we have Armand?" No, let's see.
Muted. I'm here. I have the passage. I was just muted. So I read this. Okay. The cart groans under the weight of the large iron cage it carries. Its wheel bounds over the hard-rutted ground. The citizens of the city pass food, valuables, and blessings to the companions, even as they cast fearful glances to the cage itself. A group of monks follow the cart for a time, chanting prayers and spreading the word of God. The witch has been found. The city shall be safe. Praise be to the Lord. As the river Thames comes into view, the cart slowly makes its way over a narrow bridge. The procession won't stop, but their clear voices continue to ring out over the water. Some among the crowd of well-wishers keep keepsakes from the family members they have lost to the Great Plague. But as the cart reaches the other side, a great cheer goes up, and the sun shines down from the heavens, or heaven, warming the faces and hearts of everyone there. Everyone save Eloise. The young woman sits quietly in the middle of the cage, a shadow concealing her, and the journey begins.
Thanks. And then we start with the scene with Eloise and go clockwise.
Okay.
All right. Eloise has cloak over the top of her head. She's wrapped up inside of it in the cage, and as it creaks and rolls down the road, she casts little glances out of the side of the hood, looking at those that are leading, taking her away. As the city kind of falls behind them, she looks over to Brother Armand, and in a low, kind of quiet, scared voice, "Brother, would you give a prayer? I've never left the city before."
Armand is looking away from her. He has a hard time looking at her. It's pretty obvious. I have to look at my character. After she's spoken to him, he hesitates, but then he starts in a low voice. He starts a prayer. He speaks Latin, which Elise probably won't understand, which probably he doesn't even understand, but it seems to kind of give him confidence and strength. And so he speaks, it's a simple prayer, it's the Lord's Prayer, which probably everybody will recognize, even if you don't understand the words. And his voice gets stronger as he prays, and he starts then praying the rosary, clicking in his fingers, and that gives him at least some confidence and some hope. And he looks to Eloise, and he gives her a kind of a smile, even like, and then he looks away again and starts praying and looking, trying to project confidence and faith and everything. And the hope that everything will be all right. Sorry.
When he reaches the end of the prayer, Eloise, "Brother, they say that the Lord is forgiving. Is that true? Can he forgive anything?"
Well, Eloise, the Lord is forgiving, and if you have confessed your sin and received absolution, then he will forgive you and you will enter heaven.
I lean closer to the bars and as close as I can get to Brother Armand. "Will you bless me, Father?" And as the kind of hood falls back. You can see that Eloise has hair that's tangled, but blonde and golden, and her blue eyes are tears streaming down from them. And there's this look of hope as she sees you. Bless me, brother.
I cannot. I'm not a priest. I do not have that. I cannot. I will pray for you. I will pray for you. And he lets himself fall back a little so she can't reach him and so she can talk to him. And he falls in step beside the knight because I think he feels safer, maybe close to the knight.
As Armand walks away, he sees Eloise, the tears flow down, and she pulls her cloak back up, and you can hear her softly weeping. I think that'll be my scene.
Yes, love that. Cool.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know if you're in the same order in the cameras on your screen, but to the right of Tyler is me in my screen. So I'm gonna go next,
Okay.
and then Paul, and then Sabine.
Okay.
Sure.
So I think we are riding out of London, and Sir Thorn is riding in the front together with Ham. I think Allman is probably like riding beside the cage with Eloise in, and people are still, there's still people like along the roads cheering us on as we ride. And I think Sir Thorn is probably I would guess is probably the one who is like of the people in our group that's like encouraging them the most. It's like yes, in only a few days the plague will be over, and the Lord will have put the mercy on all the souls in pain, and like this kind of thing while riding out, and the people like cheer that. And I think like when coming, they like turn a corner and they're like out of the city, and Sir Thorn turns to Ham, and you feel like, I think for the first time, like it's like this like cold wind against us when we come out of like the buildings, and Sir Thorn says, "Do you really think that this journey will make the plague go away?"
So Ham sort of turns to look at you. Ham's like riding he's like controlling the horse. Yeah, he's got the reins in his hand. He sort of glances over to you. It's like, plague? I don't care about no plague ending. You know, we've all got to die sometime. Some of us die in filth. At least some of us can die rich. And he pats his pocket, and there's a big jingle from his pocket. He goes, I know I'm getting paid for this journey. That's all I care about, sir. Cracks the whip. Come on, let's get there faster. The sooner we get there, the sooner we can get the second half of our payment. And by the way, sir, do you mind if I just call you Thorn? Because I don't go for these la-di-da titles. Like, how much are you getting paid for this? Like, he drops his voice down a bit so the rest of the people can't hear. And he's like, how much are they sticking in your coffers for this?
I think you see him like a slight grin as you say this, and he's like, no, I don't get paid. I'm just doing someone a favor. It's a big favor though. He's gonna forget some stuff.
Yeah, well, favors don't keep you warm. They don't put food in your belly, do they, you mug? And he cracks the whip even harder.
Like Thorn looks over to him, and it's like, no, it's people who keep you fed. not money. That's what you poor people get wrong.
Oh God! So I'm on a journey with a cannibal, am I? Bloody hell! Plague, cannibals, witches.
It's and you're hearing like really like laughing now. It's Thorn. It's fine. We're gonna have to get used to me talking like this. I'm sorry, but you can call me Thorn.
And he slaps you on the back. Are you wearing like kind of like armor or something?
Yeah.
Like a suit of armor. Okay, so he kind of goes to sort of slap you halfly on the back, like, and that's my pal. And he's like, oh, and he's like, hits his hand on your sort of back of your arm. And he's like, oh, bloody hell! What are you walking around in that thing for? You expecting some trouble?
I think and yes, I do expect trouble.
Oh,
I
people
always
love
expect
it.
trouble.
People, they were cheering us to see us go. They were happy to see us go, weren't they? We're not going to encounter any trouble. I know the way like the back of my hand. I tell you, we'll be there. We'll be there in like a week straight through, straight as a crow flies. Myself. Don't you worry, no trouble. I've got a good feeling about this one.
Yeah, Thorn just like nods and says like, "I hope you're right. I hope you get a swift journey."
Right. Hand's always right. And whilst he's like cracking the reins again, he like pulls out sort of some coins from his pocket and starts like sort of just like nibbling on them. Like, yeah, that one's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I think that we call it the scene there.
Cool.
And then it's a ham scene.
Okay. Let me have a look. Okay, so I'm going to take a scene idea off of my character sheet because that's what they're there for. So it's the getting towards the end of the day of the first day of our journey. And yeah, ever since we left London, like a chill wind's picked up. You know, the temperature's dropped a good few degrees, and we've all sort of pulled our cloaks around us. And the temperature's dropped even more as the sun's gone down, like over the kind of western horizon. And the crowds kind of, well, not crowds, but the people kind of some people like nearer the city, they're sort of cheering us. They're like, yeah, do the witch. Hey. But then as the further we get away from the city, there's some crowds who are like booing and jeering us. And then we pass we pass a small village, a small hamlet. And there's a few, the sun's just starting to set. There's a few people sort of around. There's people with like a herd of pigs and stuff, and some kids running around the street. And when they see us, these people they sort of start muttering, and then one of them like pulls out these like rotten vegetables like these, and starts like throwing them at us. And like, don't you stop here! We don't want the witch in our village. Keep going. And I turn to you, Sir Thorn. I'm like, so the sun's just setting, and we've got a good like another 10-mile journey to get to the next village. If we don't stop here, the sun's going to go down. I can't guide my way like without the moons. It's very cloudy tonight. There's not going to be moon to see. We're going to have to stop here, but they don't look very friendly, do they?
I think Thorn is already like jumping down from the horse, like with his hand on the sword, like looking for the guy who threw the vegetable. And you see him like he goes over to him and he like puts his finger out and like with the other hand on his neck, and it says, "Are you a God-fearing man? Do you wish to anger God in this important mission, not shielding these people coming to save the people from the disease in London. Do you really wish that?
Who wants to play this guy, this peasant?
Can I suggest maybe Tyler? You're surely not in the scene, so.
All right.
What's this peasant's name? What's his name?
We'll call him Rolf. He's got a little of the old Viking in his blood somewhere. You bring the pestilence to us with this witch. Why should we suffer so that London can be safe?
Who do you think? Do you think God cares about the difference between if you live here or in London? The wrath is a little more regional than that. Peasant.
If you bring her here, we'll all suffer. Is that what you wish? Is that what God's judgment is on our village? We've already lost many. Now you bring a witch amongst us.
He lets go of the farmer and but still like holds his shoulder like pretty firmly and says, "Don't you know that the life of a good Christian is suffering? Don't you know that to suffer for the betterment of your brothers and sisters will get you a good place in heaven?"
Then I should be looking at a wonderful place in heaven, sir. He sort of casts his eyes down, but there's that bit of hostility.
Yeah. Ham like jumps down from off the wagon, and you can see he's his eyes are darting around like in the twilight, and he's sort of catching the eyes of everyone to see like if there's any threats. Like, you know, this is what he's good at. He can sort of read a situation like within a few seconds and see like, you know, where the danger is going to be coming from. And he sort of slips up behind Sir Thorn and sort of slides his arm like around Rolf's shoulder, and he's like, "Oh, sir, please, excuse my my companion here. He's a bit saddle sore, you know. He's been sitting in this wagon the whole time. It's been a bumpy ride. You know, as you can tell, we're all having a bumpy ride, aren't we? What's your name, by the way, sir? What's your name? I'm Ham. Nice to meet you, sir." And he shakes Rolf's hand. Rolf, a fine name. I once had a drinking partner, a drinking friend called Rolf. He could really put him away. Do you like a tipple? Sir?
Well, I suppose we all like a drink now and then.
Oh, and then Ham like pulls open his like grubby like overcoat, and he pulls out this kind of flagon with like three like X's like scored on it. He's like, "Well, maybe if we forget about the witch we've got, the so-called witch, now who knows, she might not even be a witch. We just park her up like somewhere outside of the village limits, and maybe we could share a tipple tonight in the tavern. You know, maybe we could forget all this talk about God and stuff, and find out if God really is in the bottom of the bottle or not. What do you say?"
He kind of casts a look over towards Thorn. Well, I suppose a drink would... Well, it might take our minds off of it now, wouldn't it? He nods his head towards the tavern. All right. Starts heading that direction.
Excellent. Everyone, we're staying here tonight. Brother Armand, can you bring the bags in, and Thorn, can you tie up the wagon just outside of the village, if you wouldn't mind? You know, by the time you get back, we'll have this on the go, and he like waves the flagon in your face. You wouldn't mind, would you, sir?
I think Thorn like shakes his head and says, "No, I will take care of the horses. Don't worry."
Excellent. And cut the scene there.
Nice.
Wow. Do we gain like NPC companions? Can Rolf come with us?
Permanent drinking buddy. Yeah, then it's Sabine's scene.
Okay, so here I am. Do you hear me? Yeah, I guess you do. So I think we'll jump to the next morning. It's very early. There is a heavy fog around the village since the cage is outside of the village. It's hard to see that there is even a world beyond this small camp where Sir Thorn and Armand and the witch are. And Armand keeps watch over the witch because she might do something, but maybe he hasn't slept that well. He's walking slowly and starting to wake everybody up because it's starting to get lighter, and he wakes up Sir Thorn. Sir, I think we might have some light soon, and I think the guide he did say we could go now. I think we should hurry. I have a feeling that we should.
Yeah, I think like Ham. Oh yeah, Thorn is like, is Ham up?
I don't know. He's in this tavern with these people. He didn't return last night.
Oh, he's still in the tavern? Really?
And maybe he drank himself into oblivion, or what these kind of people do. Well, he's probably a good guy, but well, I don't know.
Can I just say, right at that second, like the door of the tavern swings open, and Ham kind of like stumbles out and just pukes like all over his own shoes. Like,
I think I heard something from the village. Maybe it's either a dragon or maybe, I don't know. I think we should be on our way. The earlier we get to Lindisfarne, the better.
Yeah, I think Thorn gets up and like, Ham, are you awake?
yeah, Ham like just wipes.
We're leaving at 10.
You see him, he like just wipes the like vomit on the back of his sleeve, like spits on the floor, turns round and goes straight back into the tavern and shuts the door.
Well, we should maybe so far maybe we no, I think that's my responsibility, I guess. So we will start filling up some gruel for the morning, something cold, some porridge or something, and he will go over to the cage and rattle it slightly. Eloise, you need to eat, I guess. I think
she'll move over as the hood drops back. Thank you, brother.
It's it's my duty.
I don't suppose you have anything warm, a cup of tea maybe, or it was very cold in this cage last night, brother.
Well, I suppose we could make a fire or get some tea from the tavern.
Bless you.
And Armand looks to Sir Thorn questioningly if he thinks that is all right.
I think Thorn like just looks over at Eloise and says, "I'll go get the tea and a ham."
Yes, good. And then Armand realizes that now he's alone with Eloise, which
And I think as I've reached for the bowl, my hand has sort of touched yours. Sort of, you can feel her soft fingers, which don't have that work callus. They're very soft. And she touches the side of your hand.
Yeah, he looks at her, some very melancholic. Is that the right word? I don't know. Sadly, that's good. Very sadly, and but he doesn't flinch back. He just says, "I'm sorry. You know that I'm sorry."
You're being very kind. Thank you.
Well, yes. Well, where is that knight with the tea and that insufferable guide?
I don't suppose you could allow me to relieve myself. I've been stuck in here all night.
Of course, yes, of course. I will. Yes, and I think Armand has the keys to the cage, so he'll open it up and lets her out. But he will watch her, of course, like a hawk. Or he will turn away when she does her business. But
all right, she will look for a place, a bush, a tree. But after a few moments, she'll come back. Thank you, brother.
Yes. Yes. Oh God, where are they? And I think they return when Eloise gets back into the cage. Is getting back into the cage.
Yeah, I got tea and a ham right here.
That sounds like a wholesome breakfast. Well, so can we go now, Ham?
Yeah. He tips out Ham. He tips out the flagon, and like a single drop falls out. He goes, "Well, yeah, this is finished. There's no point staying here."
That you realize we are on this is a mission, a holy mission, not some drinking trip.
Right? Isn't that what they call wine? But they call it the blood of Jesus Christ. Aren't we just taking his blood into us? Anyway, that's what.
No, that's not. That's blasphemy, Ham. What you're saying. Blessed wine is the blood of Christ, not any kind of wine.
Ah, well. Maybe you can tell me about this on the journey, huh? Why don't you tell me about,
Yes,
tell me
I will.
about this God. Yeah.
Yes,
Maybe I can learn something. Don't talk too loud though, because I've got really bad headache.
Do you? I think it's time for the morning song. And Armand climbs up on the wagon with Ham and starts singing the Lord's praises.
Ham grimaces and just kind of joins in on every other kind of line.
Hallelujah, amen.
Yeah. Hallelujah, yeah, hallelujah. Just whips the horses towards the sunrise in the east.
Okay, and I think that's the scene. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Cool. Then we're good for the next scene. I also noticed that we didn't. It says we're supposed to read out the questions of our characters, so that the other players also can help explore them.
Mm-hmm. Do we read that out before? Do we read it at the end of the scenes?
I think what it's supposed to be is that you read it out before. We were supposed to read it out before this scene.
No,
but I think as a meta thing, I think it's also useful to if I want to explore a question, I can also just say it before the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because when this is do you mind me digressing a little bit? Because I played this game before about 5 or 6 years ago when it first came out, And this is one thing that kind of threw us a bit, because the way that it's kind of written, it says like you do all the scenes and then the players read out their questions.
Yeah, it
it's like
does.
you do it at the end, which seems a bit the wrong way around. Seems like you should do it at the beginning of the scenes rather than after.
Yeah.
So is there one more scene? Has Eloise framed the scene yet?
Yeah, I started. So yeah, I guess y'all should read out your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I can start, I guess.
Okay.
My questions are: what order could you not follow in the Crusades? How do you know Eloise prior to this situation? And how has the plague caused you to suffer?
Mm-hmm. I'll read mine. Who is paying you to undertake this journey? Who makes you want to be a better person? God, that's going to take some hard work. And what offer would it take to betray your companions?
Wait. Yeah. Then I'll go with Armand. Why do you doubt Eloise is a witch? What dark secret does Thor know about you? And why were you chosen for this mission?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do y'all answer these questions, or?
I think we answer them during play.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
It's just so that I think we know like
That would
what
be my
kind of
guess.
what's driving like everyone else's characters, so we can kind of help to push there. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. Act 4 is the last chance for us to answer those questions.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Do you have to read your questions too, Tyler?
Oh, I suppose I do. I sort of had forgotten I had them. Why do you claim you don't remember anything before you're arrested? Why are you terrified of Armand? And what happened to your family?
Mm.
Mm.
So yeah, that's some questions to answer there. Now we move out of London into the Hangman's Wood, and we did all do a scene in the last act, and we all the players read out their question. So yeah, it's a bit unclear, but yeah. So the tone for this act is threatening, and a spelling passage in the act 2.
Okay, let me find that. London, Hangman's Wood. Okay, Hangman's Wood. Black, twisted branches lean close across the path, as if to grab the companions with their twig claws. Roots tangle across the forest trail, threatening to trip and ensnare the unwary. An ancient, earthy smell mixes with rotting foliage and sticks at the back of the throat. Torches gutter and fight to stay alive against the chilling breeze which sends leaves swirling across the path. Hangman's Wood is a place known to harbour fugitives, ferocious animals, and quite possibly the spirits of the criminals whose lives gave the wood its name. A stomach-churning howl breaks the silence. This is not a place to be without a guide.
Yeah. Thanks for reading there. And now Eloise's player frames a foreshadow scene. This scene should contain none of it, can include any minor character as needed. The scene is meant to add background color and foreshadow events and characters that might come. Then each player, starting with the player on Eloise's right, and then counterclockwise, takes it in turn to frame scenes until everyone has done so. Yeah.
All right. I think we see Eloise in her small cottage hovel in London. It's on the outskirts of the city, so she has a little garden behind it. Inside is neat and tidy bundles of herbs. She has bottles, and she has a mortar and pestle on a table there. It's neat and tidy, and the sun is shining and it's warm. And she sees coming in. We see her busying herself as there's a knock on the door, and she opens it. And standing there, we see a man dressed in full priest's cassock, and he clearly has done well in the service of the Lord, as he is clean, and there is an ornate golden cross around his neck, and you could see there are rings on his fingers. She says, "Oh, Father, how can a humble woman help you?" He kind of imperiously stalks into the room, pushing by her. Says, "I've heard that you are a wise woman, a woman capable of working with herbs and making medicines. Yes, the Lord has blessed me with some ability to heal, and my mother and my grandmother have blessed me with some knowledge. What could I possibly do for you, sir?" I have heard that there is something that you can make, a draught that you can give to a girl who finds herself in trouble. What sort of trouble, Father? The sort of trouble that young ladies unmarried should not find themselves in. See her kind of eyes widen. Father, that I don't know if that. She reaches down and grabs her by the arm and squeezes her arm. I already know the truth, girl. Give me what I wish, or I assure you the Lord's punishment will be most harsh upon you. Yes, Father. Of course. And she rattles about her table before handing over a small vial. Not too much, Father, or she will be in great distress. He snatches it from her hand. Yes, great distress. Stalks out of the cottage, slamming the door behind him. Scene.
Ooh. And now we'll have it's a good scene. A scene from Sabina.
Okay. So I'll start. We're in the hanging wood, right? Hangman's wood. Ugh.
Hangman's wood.
That's lovely. Okay. So let me take a look. Ooh, I like that. Yes. Okay. So I think what happens is we were driving pretty quickly through this forest as quickly as we can without breaking an axle of the wagon. And Armand is pretty nervous. He obviously doesn't like the woods, and he always asks Ham, "Look over there. What was that? What is this?" And I think that tree moved somehow. It shouldn't, should it? Maybe we are attacked by demons. Could that be? Ham, have you ever seen something like that?
Nothing. I've never seen anything like this. No.
so strange. And then that's when we come to a crossroads, and there is an old stone at the crossroads in the middle of it, and the stone is drawn with symbols and spirals and these funny Celtic knots. It looks old. Probably Ham might have seen it before if he's a guide, but Armand tells him, stop, this is not right, this is not right, this is pagan, we must cast it down, it is not the work of the Lord. And he jumps down from the wagon and runs toward the stone and watches it carefully and says, this maybe, no, we should do something. He looks to the knight on his horse. Maybe we could draw it down with your horse.
It's just a stone. It's not our mission to draw down every pagan symbol that we come across.
We should do the work of the Lord, should we not? I'm afraid if we leave this on our way, the demons might come and take her with them, rescue her.
Listen, brother, it's not the demons we need to be worried about in Hangman's Wood. It's the wolves, because the demons ain't real, but the wolves, they'll tear a strip off you straight away.
Demons are very real, Ham. Demons are very real. They are as real as God and the angels above. And the devil.
Well, I ain't never been bitten by no devil, but and he pulls up like his filthy trousers and shows you like his like calf, and he goes, but I've sure been bitten by a wolf before, and there's like a big like a scar like all at the back of his calf, but it looks like his teeth marks. This happened just in these very, very woods, brother. So I suggest we forget this stone, we forget the landscape gardening, and we just get back on the wagon and get moving.
But, well.
And there's like a howl in the distance, like woo.
That was not a dog.
No, and it wasn't a demon either.
Was that a wolf?
Let's go.
All right, I guess you're right. And Armand nervously gets back on the coach and says, well, I have a bad feeling about this. I have a bad feeling about this. There are things, well, we must do the Lord's work and pray that our sins will be forgiven. Will you pray with me, Ham?
I'll pray. God knows what good it's going to do us, though. But yeah, I'll join in with these empty platitudes. If it makes you happy, brother, if it makes you happy.
These are not, Ham. We are trying to save an immortal soul here. And we try to save England from the plague. But your soul, I think, maybe needs some saving too. Let me explain to you. And then he starts talking about God and Jesus and the miracles and the saints and everything. And I think that's the scene when the wagon drives off and the pagan stone is still standing there rather ominously, the sound of the wolves in the distance, and Ham talking rather nervously, not Ham, sorry, Armand talking rather nervously at Ham.
If I may, I think as the wagon's leaving and you guys are talking and the horse riding up, I think we see Eloise pull her hood back slightly to look at the stone, and she seems to be muttering something under her breath as it passes.
Lovely. Okay, who's next? Eloise is next.
I think it's Ham.
It's Ham? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so the scene is we're like halfway through Hangman's Wood. The howls are getting closer to us. So they started off, they were like, they're echoing like from the distance, and now hey, maybe that one was not that far away, and they're coming from like all sides of us now. And then I'm like Ham's driving the wagon, like twitching, like his hands are like shaking, and it's not just the wheels of the wagon bouncing. He's like really nervous, and his eyes are twitching from one side of the wood to the other, like that. And all talk of the gospel and the disciples has stopped now, and everyone's like deathly quiet, and all we can hear are these howls punctuating the dusk and the wheels of the wagon. And then all of a sudden, like something shoots out from the right hand side of the wood, like it shoots out from this thicket and darts like across the road. And Ham like literally screams like ah! And leaps off of the wagon and like runs back down back the way we've just come. Screaming, walls! And the wagon just like rolls to a stop.
When Armand jumps from the coach too, and he hides under the coach, praying all the time. He doesn't know if it's a wolf, but Ham's panic has obviously infected him. Lord, forgive my sins. Lord, forgive my sins.
Thorn like jumps off his horse and like tries to grab like the what's it called, the things that you steer the horse with,
Reins.
The reins of the horse, and like looks over to whatever like ran through the our path, and it's like, I'm pretty sure that was just a rabbit.
A rabbit? You sure?
I mean, it wasn't a flock of wolves. Ham!
And then you hear this scream, like it's even louder than the scream that Ham like gave out before. And he screams louder, wolves! And then like this another shape like jumps out of the other side of the woods and lands like on top of him, and it's this fucking huge like beast of a wolf, and it's pinned him down to the ground, like in the middle. He's like about say like sort of 10-15 foot behind the wagon when he was like cowardly running away, and he's now like pinned underneath this wolf, and it's he just starts crying basically, and this wolf is like bares its yellow teeth at him, and sort of this drool like drips down like all onto Ham's face, and he just screams again.
Yeah, I think Thorn like grabs the torch that stands like on the side of the wagon and like runs towards the wolf with his sworn drawn, and like the torch, waving the torch above his head, and like screaming like loudly on the top of his lungs. Be gone, demon! And I think you see like, I think that probably like before Thorn gets over, like the wolf gets frightened by like the fire, and like jumps up off you and runs back into the woods.
Yeah, Ham kind of pulls himself up on Sir Thorn's like cloak, like pulls himself up to his feet. He's like, thank you, sir, for saving my petty life. He looks you right in the eyes, Thorn. You can tell this Ham. He's absolutely fucking terrified. Thank you for saving my life, sir. Yeah, and he reaches into his pocket and like pulls out like a handful of coins and sort of puts them in your hand. He's like, thank you, because that's like the only thing. That's the only way he knows to like show gratitude, is to like, you know, give booze or food or money to people. You know, it's like his thanks. You know, his words aren't enough. They mean nothing. Words mean nothing to him, so it has to be a gift.
I think like Thorn takes his hand around Ham's shoulder and like, come Ham, we need to get out of here. I'll buy you a keg of beer when we get out of these woods in one piece.
You're a very brave man, sir. The bravest man I've ever laid my eyes upon, I do say. Were you? He eyes the hilt of your sword. Did you like draw your sword as well, like to scare the wolf away?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of eyes the hilt of your sword that's got like this kind of cross, this crucifix kind of like emblem on it, and he's like, "Ah, well, so were you in the crusade, sir?"
Like as we go like up to the wagon, Thorn says, "Yes, yes, I was, but
only the bravest of men were in the crusade, sir. I have a newfound respect for you deep in my black shriveled soul, sir."
I think you see like Thorn hesitating a bit, and then he says, "No, I wasn't brave. I ran away from the wolf, just like you."
But you scared the wolf away. The wolf took one look at your brave visage and bolted into the woods, sir. You're a hero, sir. Brave crusader.
Well, in this case, the wolf was a wolf, and not terrified children and women in Constantinople. It was not meant to be like that. We were going to free the Holy Lands, and I couldn't be a part of it, so I ran away.
Just like I ran away, sir.
Just like you ran away.
Oh, so
brave,
good.
So brave. He looks you in the eye and like, so brave people can still run away and still be brave, sir.
I think like Thorn like draws his breath, like a long breath, and says, "It's not always easy to know what's the brave thing to do, Ham. Sometimes I think the most brave thing is to run away." Especially if you have a sword in your hand.
I should try and be more brave, sir. I will try to be more brave, sir. Thank you, sir. And he climbs back as he walks past Eloise's cage. He's like twiddling one of his gold coins between his fingers. He just looks over and he just sort of flicks it in between the bars of the cage, and it kind of lands at Eloise's feet. And then he climbs back into the wagon.
As the coin comes in, and you see Eloise look at it, and she sort of touches it. From underneath her cloak, we see that rabbit. It's going free now. Going free. And it hops out of the cage and into the brush.
Yeah, and cut the scene there.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. Thanks. That was a nice scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Sir Thorn's scene.
Yeah.
I think it's like we come to the edge of the wood, and we're camping for the night. Unfortunately, after like the delays of the day with the pagan symbol and the wolves, we didn't get to the next village, so we have to sleep outside. And Sir Thorn is having like the first watch over Eloise. And you see like it's I think it's pretty cold. Like, but we're in the forest, and it's a big fire. Given like the wolves have been howling around.
Oh, yeah.
For
Can I say it's cold, but as we kind of bedded down and made camp, the rain started, and like the fire's like barely keeping alight because of the rain, like sort of pouring down on it.
Yeah, and I think you see like Thorn like is probably like doing is having to do a lot of work with like the getting branches and stuff, and like just keeping a half eye on Eloise. But like after a while, I think you can see him looking at Eloise in the cage, not being able to sleep because of the rain, just coming right into the cage. And he walks over and like stops outside, and like crosses his arms and looks at Eloise.
She looks up at you, and you see her blue eyes somehow, even in the dimness of this, catch the light. It's been a very long time since we've seen each other, Thorn.
Yes. Yeah, it was before I went with the crusade, I think.
It is a shame that we see each other in such states as this now.
Yeah, I am. And he like, I think it takes off his cloak and like here, have this, just for the night.
Thank you. She'll touch your hand as you hand it to her. You always were very kind.
He looks like to the fire, or at the fire over his shoulder, and then, well, you did make my mother well that time. I was always grateful for that.
I did what I could.
Yeah. She died in the plague, you know.
Eloise sort of cringes back. Nothing I did seemed to help.
Yeah, well, it did help then, but this time around, I think time has just caught up with her. It's sad though. I'm alone in the house now. It was full of people when you were there last.
It is very hard to be alone, Thorn. I know.
Yeah, I think he like leans against the cage and says, "Yes, I realize that you know that. I don't know how you got into this position, Eloise, but
I'm a witch, Thorn.
Yeah, and you will your death will save thousands of people, or so I've been told."
That's what the bishop has told me.
Well, you always were a saver.
The priests say that our Lord came and sacrificed himself so that everyone could be saved.
Yeah, he did. He died for the sins of the rest of us. But you see, like Thorn smiles. You're not the daughter of our Lord, are you?
No, I am not.
and hardly as innocent either, I presume, even if I don't know what to think of this.
I suppose I'm not.
Oh, Eloise, I think you should try to get some sleep.
She pulls your cloak tight around her. Thank you, Thorn.
Well, the Bible always said to treat the people next to you good. Isn't it something like that that's in there?
I don't know the Bible well. I only know that priests say that life is suffering.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I've gotten out of the book so far too. And he like turns around and walks towards like the fire that's about to go out.
Mm.
And speaking of which, I should get some more wood so we don't have to suffer this night with this horrible English rain.
And as you walk to get wood, we see Eloise sort of picking at the embroidery of your cloak, and she pulls a string from it, puts it into her own dress.
Scene.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh.
Very nice. Ominous. Threatening, even, you might say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have Eloise's scene left, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I think Eloise still gets a scene. I'm not sure though. It
Do I
doesn't-
get a
Yeah.
scene since I had the foreshadowing?
Yeah.
That was a separate thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well then, I wasn't expecting one. I think that as the night has progressed and it sounded like Thorn had kept first watch, and as it had progressed through, Eloise had slept while Ham had taken his watch, probably grumbling and taking a swig off of a flask along the way, and probably earlier than he should have, kicking awake Armand to take his watch. And as it's beginning to head towards dawn, and we can hear a little bit of the birds starting to rustle in the trees, and Armand has probably been keeping a distance over by the fire away from Eloise rather than being close. The rain has started to slack, but a mist has risen. And Armand, you hear a voice. Brother?
Yes. Armand is shaking. He's pretty cold in his threadbare robes. Maybe it's his face is a bit red, almost as if is running a slight fever. Yes, Eloise. What is it?
I was wondering if you could allow me a moment to do my duties.
Of course, Eloise. And he opens the cage and lets her out.
Eloise comes out, and you could see she's wearing Thorn's cloak around her.
He doesn't remark on it. He looks, but well, yes, of course, he says. Not exactly to her.
As she comes down, her hood comes back, and despite all of you having gotten more wet and probably more road-weary looking, her hair is no longer quite so tangled, and in fact is kind of coming down much more silky. And thank you, brother. She will go back to the bushes, and when she returns, brother, You say you're not a priest. You're
I am a
different.
monk. I am a monk. I'm not a priest. I have not received the sacrament. And I cannot give sacraments. I'm living for my faith.
So you don't. The priests I've met, they've done things to hurt me. Are you going to hurt me too, brother?
At least we are going to burn you at the stake. I think that will hurt. I don't want to, but you confessed.
Yeah, I did. I'm a witch.
And
Bishop told me.
the bishop said we will all be saved from the plague.
If it saves everyone, then I suppose it's the right thing.
I have to believe that. He is the bishop and he must know.
He was so very harsh.
I'm sorry about that, to hear that, Eloise, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
You will pray for me, though, won't you?
I will pray for you, yes. But
She rushes over and she embraces you and begins crying on your chest.
Don't touch me. And he don't touch me. I don't want you to. I don't want you to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And she rushes back into the cage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You know that I've caught it.
What?
You know that I've caught it, the plague.
Oh.
I think the knight knows too. It shouldn't touch me, Louise.
She sort of looks up at you and there's a little smile. Brother, I don't think the plague is what I have to worry about most.
Of course not. Still.
It's very hard to bear a sentence of death, isn't it, Brother Armand?
It's God's will, and it should be done. I have to believe that, Eloise. I have to. But all of this is somehow right, somehow going to be. Somehow it is going to be what God wants, and we all will receive our reward in heaven. That is what matters, not this world.
Maybe we'll meet in the next one.
Maybe you will forgive me then.
She pulls her cloak back over the top of her and huddles in the corner of her cage.
Armand locks the cage again.
Sounds like Sane.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's really good, Heavy.
Yeah, thanks. This is a good time for a break.
Yes.
I think let's grab 10 minutes to have some bio and water and recharge a little bit.
Okay.
So we'll be back here at 1940 our time, I guess. For Tyler, I don't know. You're all. That's in 10 minutes. Let's say that.
All right.
I see.
Yeah. Cool.
Hello. I'll quickly rejoin. Just maybe it's a good idea. Hello.
Oh,
Ooh,
very nice.
Very ominous.
Yeah, that looks like a bad omen right there. I thought I would just, before we start with the next scene, I thought we'd just check in to see if everything is okay. It was some. I like this level of emotional intensity we're at right now, so that's good to see.
Yeah.
Cool. Then if we're ready to move on, we'll go to the next scene, which is the cliff top pass. The tone for this act is tumultuous, and Thorns players reads the following passage. So I'll go then. As the companion.
1 sec. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties there. My speakers weren't working. Sorry, can I just bring up one thing before we start?
Yeah.
Which was something that came up the last time I played this game, a long time ago. That in this act here, someone playing before brought up like a really explicitly like supernatural thing like happening, and a couple of other players like really like, whoa, no, not into that at all. Like, and we had this kind of big discussion like in the middle of the scene about whether that sort of thing could actually happen or not. And I just thought we haven't had that kind of conversation yet. So, does anybody have strong feelings either way of like whether we want everything to be like implied, like this stuff happen, or actually, the demon's going to jump out of the woods and stuff. You know what I mean?
This is me personally as a suggestion. I always like that feeling of something being supernatural, but it could have a logical explanation.
Yeah.
I always think walking that line is the most interesting. But if people would like to have something that is outright supernatural, I could live with that, certainly. I like it too. But it always seems like it's a better tension when something that could be supernatural happens, but it also could have a logical reason.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah.
I like that as a baseline as well.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I don't mind if anybody wants to pull out demons and witch dances out of their heads. I wouldn't mind that. But the whole suspension, is this real? Is this not real? That's a better baseline, I think.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's kind of what we should aim for. But yeah, like I said, like everyone else does agree. I agree. If someone does want to throw something in there that's like a real, it's like kind of shock moment, like if it does it, I'd be cool with that happening as well. So. Okay. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no, thanks.
It's okay.
It's a good thing to get on the same page about.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, as the companions trudge the narrow path, loose stones slip and tumble towards the turbulent ocean below, while the rain lashes in the wind almost horizontally against them. Far below, the waves crashes hungrily against the cliff face, willing the companion to take the wrong step and be swallowed whole. As the journey's end grows closer, the companion must think, are they doing the right thing? Is the girl capable of causing such pain? Does she deserve that fate awaits her? The fate that awaits her. Even if she does, can the companion afford to do it? Who do you trust? Will you be able to leave Lindisfarne with a clear conscience and your beliefs intact when Eloise's absolution comes? So, And now each player, excluding Eloise, now takes in turn to make a confession about events from before the journey, such as the consequences of a tough decision. Use the questions for inspiration. Please note that this is said by the player and only revealed to other players, and it's not said to their character. Each player, starting from Eloise and then clockwise, should now frame a scene. So yeah, we do the confession first, and then the regular scene structure we have done.
Okay.
And then clockwise.
Okay. First, we do the confession thing.
Yeah. Anyone want to go first with the confession?
I'm still having a think, so I'll go next.
Yeah, I can go first, I think.
Okay.
I think you see Thorn in this big cathedral in London, confession booth, and he and then it cuts like to when he sits in there, and he says, and the priest says, so what have you come to confess? And Thorn like sighs and says, is it a sin to leave your family, to go on the mission of the Lord to save the holy city? Or does it become a sin when you abandon that mission to in the name of your conscience? And the priest like says, God surely will see the reasoning if what you did was right. And Thorn answers back, but I'm not sure if it was right. I mean, I just fled. I just went back home. I didn't stop any of the things that happened there. I mean, the Crusade, they ransacked Constantinople. They stole and raped and pillaged and burned the city to the ground. We had no business there. I have no illusions that I'm gonna be forgiven just because I refuse to be a part of it, as I didn't do anything to stop it. And when I came home, my mother was sick, my brother was dead, my sister was married away. Surely this must be God punishing me. And I think like the camera like zooms out and you see like Thorn go out of the confession booth, and just like mumbling, I don't know how I will repay this. Scene.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Nice. Should I go next? I have an idea.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so well, this is Armand. What was my name again? I'm sorry. Armand.
Brother Armand.
Yes, Brother Armand. He is in the monastery again. He is. Yeah, it's not a very long time ago. Maybe the weather was a bit nicer. But and he is talking to a priest. It's the same priest actually from the foreshadowing, Heloise's foreshadowing. And he says to that priest says, that priest seems to be in a talkative mood, and he tells Armand all about his daughter dying of something, and Armand mentions maybe that, and the whole story is about that he gave her some potion from a wise woman, and Armand said, well, what is if this wise woman was a witch? And the priest looks at him with this calculating gaze and says, well, that is, yes, maybe she is a witch. And then you see Armand, well, maybe she isn't. And then you see the fact that Eloise gets arrested and hears about it, that they have caught the witch and that she was probably the cause for the whole plague. And Armand is really excited they have caught the witch, and then he says, it's this girl, the priest was talking about, and that he probably gave the priest the whole idea about the witch. And now he's pretty conflicted about the whole thing.
Can I ask, since, of course, we're talking about a priest, and he mentions that he had a daughter, is that...
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it should have been a niece.
Okay. Okay, because I was going to say,
yeah,
were you shocked by it that he gave this admission, or...
No, I think he said it was he maybe saw daughter and then quickly corrected himself to niece.
Nice.
And Armand thought maybe he misheard the whole daughter, but now he's not so sure after Eloise was arrested.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's Ham's confession, I guess. So Ham was approached by this same priest who we've been talking about in the tavern, and that was the shadowy figure who gave him this big purse of coin to lead the journey up to Lindisfarne, and promised that he would receive 3 times that amount when the journey was complete and the witch was taken to her absolution. So that's what's driving Ham, is because he's greedy. He values, everything in his life is valued is transactional. Is in like food and money and wine and whatnot. But the night before he left, he came home from the tavern. He'd already spent a good chunk of this purse in the tavern that night, celebrating his good fortune for what he thought was going to be an easy job. And he comes home half cut, really drunk, opens the door of his abode, and there are 3 even shadowier figures with their hoods up, there in his room. And they've got his wife and his 4 kids all tied up to chairs in the middle. And they basically say we know that you've been made a good offer to make sure that the witch reaches Lindisfarne, but we're going to make a better offer that you can't refuse. The offer is either Eloise never reaches Lindisfarne, or your family dies. So they're holding his family hostage to make sure that Eloise never reaches Lindisfarne.
Ooh.
Oh, that's neat.
That's good.
But there's a lot of money at stake. Money talks.
Yeah, choices. Now we do a round of scenes, starting with Eloise, and then go clockwise.
All right, we've been traveling along this cliff path, and I think that as we had reached, the rain is coming in, and we'd found amongst the rocks a little bit of shelter for us to wait out the night. Thorn has managed to get a fire going, and for the beginning, they just left Eloise in the cage, but perhaps Thorn, perhaps Armand, one of the two of them had had enough sympathy that they had opened up the cage and brought her into this little outcropping to be able to warm and get some shelter. And we have a couple of pots over the fire, one of them with our bit of dinner, and the other with some water that we're warming so that we can either make a tea or at least have warm water to drink in this cold. And we'll say Ham has head off into the dark to kind of check to make sure the horse is taken care of. And Armand has moved off for some privacy to relieve himself as Thorn and Eloise are there. And Eloise has taken this cup of the hot water, and Thorn, you see her reach inside of her dress and begin dropping in some dried leaves and a bit of a mushroom. You can only guess that maybe when she'd gone to relieve herself, she had picked these things up along the way. And stirs it with her finger. Thorn, I fear that Brother Armand is not well.
I think you see like Thorn's face go like even sterner than normal, and he like how why would you say that?
I've seen much sickness in my time, Thorn, and I believe that the plague has come to visit Brother Armand, but you should probably ask him if he's feeling well, if he's getting a tightness in his chest. I can't say for sure, but perhaps Armand could give you that knowledge better than I. But if it is so, and she sort of holds this cup up towards you, he will begin to cough. This could ease his coughing. This could make him breathe easier and better. If you would just perhaps pour it into a flask as he grows worse, you could ease his suffering.
I think you see like Thorn like stroke his head a little, and he looks down at you from and he says, "You know, Eloise, I really want to believe you, but this puts me in a little bit of a weird position. I mean, I am transporting you as a witch responsible for the plague to Lindisfarne. And here you are giving me an antidote to give to the...
I will not say it can cure him. It only would relieve some of his suffering. It's up to the fate, and as she says fate, she corrects the Lord. What will become of him? I just hate to see anyone suffer. As you know, I've spent all of my life trying to heal others. as I did your mother, as I couldn't do for my own mother.
Thorn grabs what is it in? Is it like
like the bowl she would have drank from, whatever
yeah.
Yeah.
Like grabs the little like bowl and like looks at the herbs like floating around in the water, and it like has like a deep sigh, and it says, "Oh, Eloise, I really have a bad feeling about this. I don't know." Whenever I've been on the mission from the church and I've gotten doubts, it has not ended well. And I think it like turns around, and like puts it down. Like you see him do something behind the cloak, and then like give you the empty cup back.
She smiles. I understand your doubts, Thorn, but no one should have to suffer needlessly. And she'll lean back down over the fire and get herself a little bit of water and drink the warm water. And I think that's seen, unless you have something.
Maybe Armand could come back just at that moment and give a little.
Oh, beautiful.
Hmm.
Nice.
Ooh. Yeah. And we go clockwise this time, so I guess it's Sir Thorn's scene. Huh. I think
Okay. I've got an idea for the scene if you want a bit more time to think about it.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So it's the morning after, and we've set off from our little nook in the cliff, and the path like narrows and narrows. It's barely wide enough to get the wagon through and the cage through, and the wind is blowing in like so hard, like off the sea, and the waves are crashing and sort of spraying up. And all of a sudden, like one of the horses kind of panics and kind of bolts, and Ham like grabs the reins and sort of struggles with the reins, and the wagon like lurches like towards the cliff edge, and he like pulls the reins back up and manages to get the horse under control. And at that point, like we hear this big crack, and we think, is it lightning? Is that thunder or something? And it's suddenly there's a big jolt, and the wagon like lurches to the side towards the cliff, and like the rear like wheel has snapped and broken. Ham's like, I guess I've got to be the one to fix this, and he pulls up his hood. He says, if you keep the horses under control, like keep them calm, like don't spook them. I'll go and fix it. I'll be back in a second. He sort of jumps off and like heads back to the and starts like he pulls out like a hammer and a chisel and a bag full of like nails, and he tries to sort of start fixing this broken spindles like on the wheel. And he's crouching down on the floor, like the rain like lashing him. And whilst he's bagging away, he kind of looks up at Eloise in the cage. He says, "So, are you really a witch then?"
That's what the priests and the bishop tell me.
Well, people tell me I'm a cowardly, drunk layabout, but
are
doesn't
you?
mean it's true. Well, that's what people see, but you know, maybe inside maybe there's a lot more going on inside that people don't see. You know, maybe I've got a lot of weight on my mind, a lot of weight on my soul, and maybe I just need to be braver. And
I think there's probably a very good man inside of you. A man who has had responsibilities, burdens, pain he didn't really deserve. She's kept herself back, opposite the side that's leaning, but she'll kind of slide down slightly. A good man knows when he has shortcomings and he tries to overcome them. I think you will do what's right. Because you want to be a good man.
And Ham, like, really gingerly kind of, he's stopped mending the wheel now, and he sort of puts down his mallet, and he gingerly like reaches up a hand, like in between the bars.
Eloise will reach down and touch, just kind of like fingertip to fingertip.
And then he jolts back and like pulls his hand back. So this wheel won't fix itself. We've got to get you to Lindisfarne, Eloise. He starts banging again.
I suppose we do. She'll slide to the opposite end of the cage.
Wheels fixed. We're ready to go. Cutscene.
I
Nice.
think I have a scene idea now. It's I think it's Thorn and our dear brother Armand that are like we're like going. I think Armand is going first, and Thorn behind him, and you see like the horse with the cage on it coming like maybe like 10-20 meters behind, and you hear like Armand coughing, and Sir Thorn remarks at that. Do you think that your disease is a divine punishment, Armand?
Might well be. So Thorn. It might well be.
It seems almost ironic that you would be punished by God with the disease of the witch, given what you did.
Maybe God wants to tell me something. I don't know. Maybe the bishop said that I have this to remind me of my duty. That it will be gone when the witch has been burned. I don't know. Maybe I should just have kept my mouth shut.
Well, our dear bishop isn't exactly sin-free either.
But he is the head of my church. I have sworn obedience. I'm a monk.
Yeah, Thorn definitely like scoffs at that, and says, "Really?
Yes.
Aren't you bound by the words of the Bible?"
I'm bound by the words of the Bible, and the Bible tells me to obey the church, and the bishop is higher ranking That must have a purpose, doesn't it?
I think you can see like Thorn, his eyes darts a little, and his eyes, and he says, Armand, if you are ever going to rectify your sins, you have to think for yourself. I mean, you read the Bible.
I have to trust in God.
Yes, you have to trust in God, not in the bishop or the church, or not anyone who says they can tell you what to do just because they are in a powerful position. If life have taught me anything, it's that.
But
Yeah.
that is the sin of pride, to think that my own judgment is more worthy and more right than that of the bishop or the others. Do you? And pride is a cardinal sin. Sometimes you have to have faith in other people's judgment. That is what I was taught. That is what the Bible teaches me. And I might not agree with their judgment, but I am just a simple monk.
Thrown he takes like a small drink water skin from his belt, and he says, so if I told you that the witch made something that could cure your disease, would your pride stand in the way for you drinking it?
My pride. I was so proud, when the bishop said I had done good, that I had found the cure for the plague that ailed us all. But now, seeing this young woman, she's so beautiful, but I don't know. I cannot. I do not trust my own judgment, Sir Thorn. I do not. What if she was old and ugly? Would my judgment be different then? Probably. And that's why I don't trust it.
And I think you can see like Thorn taking squeezing the water skin, and you can see like the water dripping out of it. And he says, I think like even if I don't, you wouldn't even if this would have cured you, you wouldn't have deserved the cure.
Maybe not. I don't. Probably not.
And he shakes his head. I think that's seen.
Yes, I think that's seen.
Oh God! Oh, my goodness, that was good.
Okay.
Sabine, maybe drop and rejoin us real quick before you start yours.
Okay, I will.
Mercy, that was good there. Mikhail, that was something.
Yeah, it's a good game to push on those buttons.
Yeah, it gets very intense, doesn't it?
Mm.
I'm back. I'm here.
Hey.
Okay. I'm a bit lost because I wanted a scene with Thorn too, but we have had that one. So I think I'll have a scene with Eloise. And it's a bit later, maybe in the evening. The wagon is creaking along, and it's not very fast anymore because of the wheel is weak. The newly fixed wheel, it works, but it's pretty weak, so we can't go that fast. At least that's what Ham claims. At least. So I think Armand will take a turn and ride on the wagon and talk to Eloise. And I think he will ask her, Eloise, if somebody forgot to lock the door, what would you do?
I suppose that I look towards God's will, brother. Wasn't there a story about a man locked in with lions?
Daniel, yes, and they did not touch him. And he looks at you with this terrible hope in his eyes. You think maybe there will be divine intervention for the innocent. There was a story about 3 children being put in the fire by a heathen, and they lived. They were not touched by the flames. Well, Eloise, I hope that maybe I have to have faith. It's all that's left for me.
I would hope. I would want to have your strength of faith. I have to say, I would hope more that the Lord would open up the lion's den than I should walk in the fires of hell.
If I had the faith I should have, I would not question. I would not wonder. I would not, and he puts his hand onto the cage's bars, would not want you to touch me again. And that is sinful. But he doesn't put his hand away either.
Eloise comes forward and puts both of her hands around yours. It is for those who are both condemned to give comfort to each other, I would think.
But I don't want to be condemned. I don't want you to be condemned.
I believe that you are a man, a good man. The Lord will talk to you. He'll tell you what's right. In your heart, you'll know what's right, Armand. And she'll lean down and kiss your hand.
And he leaves it there, and he turns towards the cage and almost leans into it. He says, Eloise, I wish things were different.
Go ahead.
I have to pray. I have to pray. But he doesn't leave. I think that's the scene. He stays next to her in the cage, almost leaning into her and whispering that he has to pray, that he doesn't know what to do.
Excellent.
Nice. What do we do now?
So that was scene, and we have everyone has had a scene now, right? Yeah. So the plot thickens, and we get to Lindisfarne.
Yes.
The tone for this act is this what?
Decisive.
This is what it says there, right?
Yeah, decisive.
I'll just Eloise
Yes.
players reads the following passage.
Right, decisive. So we're coming to the decision.
Oh God.
It is Sunday morning, and the sun bathes the land in clear golden light as it breaks the horizon. The journey's end is in sight. A well-worn path leads down towards the coast and towards our destination. Lindisfarne is known as the Holy Island. It is off the northeast coast of England, where St. Aidan founded a great monastery. It can only be reached by a causeway at low tide.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. And now each player, starting with Eloise and going counterclockwise, adds a detail about Lindisfarne. What does it look like? What is the atmosphere like around the holy place? Are there signs of previous visits? Then each player may decide to frame a scene if they wish. This scene will take place up until Eloise faces her absolution. The scene framer describes the location, who is present, including any minor characters. There's no turn order. This is the last chance to answer any outstanding questions and to sway opinions regarding Eloise. Then once every player who wishes to have a scene has had one, Eloise and players finally has her introduction scene. Show Eloise's personality in the situation before she was captured and describe her appearance and show a little about who she is. Then move on to the final scene, the absolution. So Eloise starts with describing one detail about Lindisfarne, and then we go counterclockwise. So Sabina and then Paul and me in the end.
Okay. I believe we've come to the causeway, and we've had to wait for tide to go out. And as we've stood there just waiting, we can see down to the monastery, and they built the scaffolding. They have the stake, and it's wood around it. We could see the monks busily, putting it together. Bells have begun ringing once we could reach the other side of the causeway. But as the tide goes out, we see all of the monks have gone back to the monastery till only the abbot is there. And even he is looking like nervous. We could see him across there, and like it's taking courage for him to stay. And as soon as the cart starts moving across the causeway, he turns around and flees into the monastery as well. And they slam up everything, as though they don't want to endanger themselves with the plague.
Cool.
Okay. So who's now? Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we also can see about Lindisfarne is the monks usually they are Benedictine monks. They have to work and to pray. They have fields, they have gardens, and they also have fishing boats. There is a small harbor next to the monastery, and the boats are all in, swinging on the low tide. Oh, that was my detail.
Yeah.
Okay. My turn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we cross the causeway, like the moment that the wheels of the wagon that's carrying the cage with Eloise in it, the minute it touches like the land of this small island, Lindisfarne, like the sun, the clouds like kind of just part and the sun like breaks through, really bright and high in the sky. And it's the first time in like the entire journey we've had like we felt the warmth of the sunlight like upon our faces. And the sea like around the ocean is completely calm. Like the fishing boats, the small fishing boats, they stop like bobbing up and down. They stop their motion on the waves, and the ocean is like completely still, like, and there's no sound in the air apart from the wagon wheels on the ground. Yeah, There you
Um, I think like the first thing that we like really notice when you go over the causeway is that it's like extremely green. It's very like lush, very like it's tall grass, and you see like that it's like moving ever so slightly in like the faintest of like wind that is there at the moment, and you see like there's no trees, like it's all flat, and just this like green grass, which makes for like a very like serene kind of look as we move past towards the monastery.
Nice.
Mhm.
So anyone want a scene?
I at
Yeah.
least want one, but I'm more than willing to wait for mine a little bit if others have some.
Dramatic tension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a scene. I'd like to play. It's Ham, Sir Thorn, and Brother Armand. We've thrown off the shackles of our journey. We left Eloise in the cage, like parked up by the monastery. And actually parked up by the stake. Yeah. And we've wandered down. It's a short walk, like 100 yards or so, like down to the coast. There's a small like shingly beach by the harbour, and we're all sitting like Ham sitting on like an upturned piece of like driftwood. We're all sort of sitting there, gazing out at this calm ocean, the sun in our faces, and Ham's like picking up pebbles and inspecting them, and then sort of skimming them into the ocean, and they're bouncing, like they bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like he's obviously really skilled at this, and because the water's so flat, they just. And he does. This goes on for quite a long time. Like before the silence, the only sound we can hear is the pebbles skipping across the waves, and then Ham kind of picks up a pebble and then just like sort of drops it on the floor and says, "What does it take to make you a good person?"
Who's there in the scene? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, sorry. All of us. So
All of them.
Brother Armand and Sir Thorn were all sitting there. He looks at us. Yeah, what does it take to make you a good person?
No, the church teaches us it is mercy and love and faith. It's a very good question.
I think
What
like Torn like clears his throat. I think sometimes it's just doing what you think is right, not what other people think is right, but what you think is right.
But what about if what you think is right is what everybody else thinks is wrong? Then you're only a good person to yourself, aren't you? Everyone else thinks you're worthless.
Well, I think most people will think you're worthless anyway. It's what you think about yourself, isn't it? At least I think so.
Do you, Sir Thorn, Brother Armand, do you think I'm a good person?
I don't know you that well, Han. I think I'm not a very good person. If that helps.
I think you see like Thorn turning to like his like whole chest like towards you. He's been like looking out to the sea before, and he says, "Well, I think you're a better person than you make yourself out to be." But well, I've been thinking after the wolf. I think maybe you also just need to be a little brave.
Brave. Yeah. Bravery. It's a hard thing to come by in this age, you know?
Yeah, you see, like Thorn, like breathe heavily, like sigh and say, "Yes, yes, it really is."
Anyway, enough of this jibber jabbering. Yeah, you better go and build a fire and check on Eloise. We've left her alone for too long. Wouldn't want her escaping or anything. Right, I'll just stay here for a while. I want to gather my thoughts.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I will go and pray with the monks, but he looks at Thorn and says, well, I think bravery is maybe what I need to, and a little bit of faith in myself.
I think you see like Thorn shrug like his shoulders and say, "I don't know what's best for you, but if you say so." You sure could have used it before.
Yes, I know. And he walks away.
And Ham watches your back as you leave. You better go and check on Eloise, Sir Thorn.
Yes, I'll go check on her. See you in a bit.
See you soon. And then Ham watches you leave and waits until you're out of view, like up over the crest of the shoreline. And then he lets out a big long sigh, sinks down, puts his elbows like on his knees and stares at his feet. And then he reaches to pick down a pebble. He reaches down to pick up a pebble, looks at it, drops it to the floor, and then reaches into his coat and pulls out his purse with his remaining coins that he's got left, and places it down on the floor in front of his feet, pulls the little drawstring, opens it up, and then pulls out like each gold coin and like looks at it, and then bites it. He's like, "Nah, that one's fake." And then he like tosses it like a pebble, like into the ocean, and then picks up another one and just starts tossing like these coins like out to the ocean. And then we'll cut the scene now.
That was great.
Cool.
Thanks. That's good.
Anyone else have one, or should I go?
I think I'm good.
I'm good too.
As Thorn approaches, the light comes on to Eloise as she's pulled back her hood, and her hair is gold in the sun. And she looks brave. She's been crying all this time, but she looks up at the stake, and as you come closer, Thorn, she says, I suppose it's time for me to make my sacrifice, Sir Thorn."
He like nods slowly and says, "Yeah, I suppose it is time to make the sacrifice."
It's going to cure it all, Sir Thorn. That's what the bishop says. I did this. It must be true. The bishop said it. And I suppose if my death will save so many, then it is God's will, isn't it, Sir Thorn?
I think Sir Thorn walks over to you and carefully puts his hand around yours and says, I mean, there's no way for me to understand how you can be a witch. I just don't understand. If what you're doing is wrong, but I suppose someone's got to burn.
And if it must happen, I suppose it must be me. I forgive you, Sir Thorn.
Oh.
I think you see like a tear coming down his eye, and he says, and he like shifts his shoulder a little, and he says like, I don't think I deserve it, but for what it's worth, thank you.
I think that's sane.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Okay.
I got my lighting effect even. Thank you, son. Been raining all day. I get a little fun for the final blow.
Absolution.
Absolution.
Oh, man.
Go there.
So,
Eloise should have an introduction scene.
Oh, okay. Yes, we forgot about that. Yes.
All right. I think we see Eloise. She's bundled up, and she has like a bag with her. And we see several lesser priests are escorting her towards this grand house, and we could see the bishop's arms over the top of it as she's hustled through and back towards a bedroom where there are candles burning, and we see a thin, pale, beautiful young girl, probably 15, 16. And beside her, we see the bishop, who is that priest who had come to see Eloise to begin with. And as she comes in, he looks up. Your medicines aren't working, good wife. Take care of my niece. She is not well. What did you give her? And Eloise comes rushing over, and she touches the girl's stomach, and she, you have given her too much. I told you, too much would cause her great distress. This bishop stands up. It had to be done quickly. But Father, it's going to kill her. You see this bishop's face crack with the anger, and the girl begins crying. No, it cannot. He rears back and just backhands Eloise across the room as she, I'm sorry. He leans down and he kisses the girl. I will love you forever. And that's probably her intro scene.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
That's great.
Great.
Wow. I hate that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's So now for the absolution. This so will this thing is a scene where all the characters is present, if it's possible. Eloise is present, but she's bound and gagged and can no longer speak or move unless she is released by another player's character. If Eloise is to be burned, then the passages that follow are to be read in order. However, if the player currently reading wishes for their character to do something else, then they may stop reading and do so. The scene will then continue with free narration as with any other scene, with other characters reacting to help or hinder as they wish. Eloise might still be killed if someone makes it happen and no one else stops it. If it's reasonable to do so, continue reading from the passages. The scene must continue until Eloise's fate is revealed, either escape to freedom or her death. So, and it starts with Amon. Amon, player read this unless they wish to do something else.
I'll start reading. As the sun breaks the horizon, I read the witch her last rites. The gang in prayer, and they denounce her. We shall not suffer the witch to live. Again and again, until Armand steps to her side and says, "No, I know this is right what we are doing, but I cannot suffer her to go alone. I shall love this woman forever. Burn me with her, though it means our death."
Oh.
And he stands beside her.
Torrance players read this unless they wish to do something else. I carry the witch to the pyre. Hard-faced guardsmen stand back for fear of her curses. But I do not waver, though it means her death. And then Ham.
I dig out the flint and tinder from my pack, the same one I'd used to keep us warm throughout the journey. My hand shakes as I try to create a spark whilst the others look on. On the third attempt, I drop the flint and I stand up, reach into my overcoat and pull out a short, sharp, serrated knife. I dash up to the pyre and say, "Finally, I know what it means to be brave." And I cut the ropes from around Eloise's body. Run, Eloise. Escape. Witch or not, you don't deserve to die at the hands of these people, of us. We have no right to decide whether you live or die. We're worthless, but we're brave. Run!
Eloise will stumble down this pyre and looking at those around her. And I feel like the monks have withdrawn these, she's freed. Everybody's kind of stepped back and she's going to run directly towards Thorn, but looking like maybe she's running past him, but that's the one direction she would go. And as she goes, she reaches over and touches your hand, Armand.
Armand was standing beside her on the pyre.
Right.
He was climbing up with her. He will run with her.
Yeah, there, good.
Oh, what do you take hands? Do you hold hands? Like,
yes.
Run together?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I think you see like Thorn move out of the way so Eloise can run past, but he grabs Amand and like holds him fast, and he says, "No, someone's got to burn, and for all the rotten institutions that has caused this disease, you are the one responsible. You may not see it, but you are already sick, and you contain the disease within you, and you have to die on the stake."
Armand lets go of Eloise's hand and says, "I think that's true. That is very true.
No.
Run, Eloise, go. Go, save yourself. I'm lost already."
No.
And he's right. There must be a sacrifice.
Eloise begins to cry. She's torn, but she does turn as you tell her to run towards the causeway. The tide is already rolling in, though, and her feet are splashing as she runs.
Armand turns back to Thor and protect her. He gives him a little shove and climbs back up to the pyre and looks at him and says, "Light the fire, so it means my death."
And with and I try to create a spark while the others look on, and on the third attempt, I succeed, even though it means Brother Armand's death.
Oh.
Yay.
That was Witch the Road to Lindisfarne.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, wow.
So, I reveal.
Oh,
we
yeah.
do epilogues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was innocent. I
Yay.
am just a woman who tries to heal.
Yay, we did the right thing.
Wow. So I guess we'll epilogue out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Start with my life.
Yeah, that's Sabine, I guess. We'll see.
Okay, so, well, Armand's fate is pretty clear because he burns. But, well, I think maybe the monks, they were pretty shocked about the whole thing, but the whole sacrifice yourself is kind of written into the Christian religion, so they will gather up Armand's ashes and bones carefully and put them into reliquaries, and you can see another wagon and another cart going with those reliquaries back to London, where they will be sold as pest medicine. Plague medicine. Maybe they help. Who knows?
So what about Ham?
Ham. Okay, it's a scene of back in London, and Ham opens the door. No, he gets to his home, and he goes to open the door and then pauses for a second. Then takes a deep breath and like pushes open the door. And inside there's suddenly these shouts of like his four children, like, "Daddy, Daddy, you're home!" And they come and like run, and they all like jump onto him, and they're all like hugging his legs, and he kind of pats them on the head and like walks towards into the home, dragging the kids there with him, and his wife's standing there, sort of twiddling her fingers, and she goes, "Hamish, you're home." I didn't know whether you would return. I'm home, but I'm not Ham anymore. I'm Hamish. Anyway, it's good to see you, kids. Daddy's got some stories to tell. How about we light a fire, huh? Yeah, light a fire, and I'll tell you all about it. And he sits down like in the chair by the fire and sort of starts building a fire in the hearth. And then we cut the scene.
Nice.
Yeah. I think you can see like there's this. It's a dark night in like a city, and there's this. I think it's this church or something like that. And there's like this. You go inside and you see like there's always like people sleeping in there, and you see Sir Thorn standing like outside with his sword, and with Eloise, and says it should be safe to sleep here. They wouldn't think to look for you among the pilgrims. And I think that's scene.
Nice.
And where were the pilgrims going? Where?
Oh, they were sleeping inside the church.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know, some reliquary somewhere.
I think we see a cottage in the woods. There might be snow around. The trees are dark and pressed in close. We can see a neat garden behind it. As we see a man, he's dressed roughly, furs, and we see him dragging a young girl behind him, and bangs on the cabin door and slams open the door. We cut into the interior, where we see a fire, and there are herbs hanging, and we see a mortar and pestle on a table. We see a figure cloaked by the fire sitting in a chair. Man goes, and I don't do a great Scottish brogue, but he's got a pretty deep Highland brogue of woman, my daughter's got herself in trouble. He pulls her forward. Says you can take care of that. I want it gone. The seed that they put in her belly. And from that, over by the fire and shadow, no, this I cannot do. It's a blessing of God. She will have a child, and you will be proud of your grandchild. I will not! You will do as I say, witch! And she pulls back the hood, and you see her hair is completely white. She's old and wrinkled, but her eyes are still shining blue. You call me a witch? Then you will do as I say, man. There have been men before you who tried to stop me, and they are no longer here. Take this girl and raise that child, or I shall know about it. And we see him shrink back and leave the cabin.
Yay! Very nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
That was nice.
Wow. Great game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. That was brilliant.
That was wonderful, Mikhail.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I died. Yay!
Poor Armand.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Would have died anyway.
He got this epic moment.
Yeah. Yeah. With your help.
Was Armand's death technically suicide though? Because that means he's not getting to heaven.
No,
No.
I don't think so. Ham lit the fire, so it wasn't suicide.
Well, and you know, Thorn kind of kept him from running, and the implication was that Thorn wasn't going to let him go regardless.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'll let him have his martyrdom. Yeah, I really like that game. I'm very grateful that you all brought it. It was very nice to play an intense game like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were great, Eloise, Tyler.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Y'all
Yeah,
were
that final scene, fantastic.
Yeah. I like the way you kept us guessing as players if she was really a witch or maybe not, or maybe was she even a bad witch.
Yeah, I wanted to play with that. I wanted us to at least have our doubts, and was she just being manipulative?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
I think she got stuck in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Like a lot of women probably at that same period.
Mm.
Yeah, I really felt that out in the end, and I was like, I thought, well, I also tried to like play up for Ham's like bravery, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually not do anything and see if Ham does something.
Mm-hmm.
As we played up during, I was so happy when you actually did something. I was like, oh, yes.
That was
Thank
great.
God.
Yeah, couldn't have done it without you, sir.
Yeah, it was great. I'm very happy about this game. It was very nice.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna live off this for a little while.
I think it's very interesting as well that the game, it's kind of all built around like interpersonal conflict, and there's no mechanics whatsoever for dealing with conflict.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
which I quite like.
Yeah, and it worked pretty well as well. I guess, I mean, we're all probably like somewhat familiar with playing with these kind of games from before, but still, I'm very like surprised of how hard we could push and still it would work.
The game gives a lot of good stuff too. I like the reading out, and they pace how stuff comes out in this game really nicely. Yeah. And, you know, I could see it going a whole different way with different people and different ideas of what you want. I mean, it has replayability.
Yeah, it does.
Definitely. And I love the fact that you're going to get the same characters each time, even like the same names, the same like appearances and stuff, but they're going to go in totally different like ways depending on how people play them. You know? Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your ham as well. Just saying.
I did.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, he started off like a bit of a fool, really. Like I was kind of planning like a fool because the first scene it says the tone is like hopeful. So he's like, "Yeah, we're off on a party. We're gonna get drunk. It's gonna be fun." And then it all just suddenly falls in on him, and he's like, "Am I a good person? Am I a bad person?" Yeah, I think he came out of it quite well. You know, he's a changed man. Like,
yeah. I think Hamish had a wonderful transitional journey. I thought that was really cool. And the being your Armand was delightful.
Oh, wow. He just fell in love with this car.
So tragic, like tragedy personified, I think.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, no, I'm gonna. Oh, this was great. I'm gonna. Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you all.
And I hope to play with you. You're also in the next week group, aren't you, Paul?
Yes, the Society of Dreamers, which I have absolutely no idea what it's about at all.
I'm in that one too. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna
wish you a nice game next Wednesday.
I'll miss you, Sabine.
Oh,
yeah.
Come on, there'll be other Wednesdays.
True.
Yeah, I'm gonna set up some games for Wednesdays in April as well, I think.
Okay,
cool. Yeah,
so
it's a really good time for me because I like finish work about 4:30 and I can just dash home and
yeah.
Yeah.
And you said this was your first Gauntlet game, Paul?
Yeah, first one. Yeah.
You were magnificent. You were first off, you're a hell of a gamer. Good to play with you, but you're
Yeah,
a
thank
lovely
you.
person too.
Oh, cheers. Really great to play with you guys as well. So yeah, I hope we get to play together a bit more in the future. It'd be good.
So do I.
Yeah, that would be good. So I'm gonna at least stop the broadcast now.
Okay.
So in 3, 2, 1.